Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. To anyone who's new to this channel is dedicated to the life, work, and teachings of a very special teacher, special to my heart anyway, named Bruno Groening. You can find out more about him in the link that's in the chat box or the link in the description below this video. So, I have a fascinating subject I'm excited to talk about, my own limitations. But actually not just my limitations, our limitations, and specifically the limitations of all of us as we strive to understand and follow Bruno's teachings, but very specifically, the limitations of anyone who's teaching Bruno Groening's work. And I don't know how to describe myself. Sometimes I think of myself as a teacher, a mentor, a minister. Mostly what I just do is I just try to share Bruno's work and help people on this path and share my own experience on this path. So that's wonderful, and I love doing it, and I've received much guidance and help and inspiration from many other people, some of them who are, in different ways, shapes, and forms, they teach or share Bruno's work, and some of it's just listening to other people's experience, people who aren't a formal teacher, who get up and share a healing, or get up and share an inspiration they had while they were tuning in, or an insight they had of Bruno's work. So in that sense, all of us truly can be teachers on this path. But very specifically now, talking about those of us who formally teach, and I think share might be the better word, share Bruno's work. So the thing is none of us are Bruno Groening, and none of us speak for Bruno Groening. And that's very important to realize. At first, I thought anyone who was a community leader, like, they speak for Bruno, and I hung on their every word, and there was a way in which I kind of surrendered to them a little bit, and definitely kind of surrendered my discernment. And luckily, they were all ethical, good people, and none of them, sort of took advantage of me in any way. But in hindsight, I realized I didn't do what Bruno said, which was to not listen to other people. Yes, to listen, to hear, but to not blindly follow another person. And it actually got me in a little bit of trouble. In that I would just be like, oh, well, da-da-da-da-da said, and not study Bruno's words directly myself, or da-da-da-da said, so, oh, well, that must be what Bruno meant, without, Bruno said to check with each thought that we take up to see whether it's a good thought. Well, my understanding is that also applies to everything that's talking about thoughts that we receive and hear in our mind, but that also has to do with words we hear from other people. And I didn't do that. And yeah, it got me into some trouble. So the long and short of it is, well, in my view, and I think it's, I'm very convinced of this, Bruno Groening was a master. And we can talk about what is a master. A master of life. I believe that not only did he have power over matter, but he was surrendered to God, and he was able to be at peace no matter what was going on around him. And that's sort of my definition of a master of life. And so Bruno Groening was a master, and those of us who share his work, we are not. All of us are very human and very fallible. And personally, Bruno Groening did not speak in complex or esoteric language. his teachings in some ways are very simple, but they are not easy to live by. In fact, Bruno said such a thing. He said that human beings say yes to what is good, but then they don't stand by it. So, what does that mean? For example, you wake up in the morning and say, okay, I'm not going to take in any negative thoughts today. And then it's like 5 minutes later, like boom, 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 taking in negative thoughts. Or I'm just going to trust God. And then fear, some circumstance happens or a feeling of fear. And it's like, oh. And so, of course, like we're all learning. So for myself, it's not to not take in negative thoughts, but how quickly can I catch it and get rid of them? And how quickly can I come out of fear back to faith, to kind of work and grow? Obviously, the ultimate goal is to take in no negative thoughts and to have no fear. I'm not there yet. I haven't met anyone who teaches this work who's there, but if there is, I would love to meet them. And I've shared this story before, and it's very important to me. Bruno Groening gave talks to the general public, but then he had what was called his inner circle, where he would give more advanced teachings and maybe talk more one-on-one with people. But after one such gathering, Alfred Hosp, also known as Freddie Hosp, said that he and all the people who were there were just amazed. Like Bruno had just given the deepest teachings that any of them had ever heard. And then after he gave them, Bruno said, what I've just shared with you tonight in terms of my knowledge is it's like dirt under my fingernails. Meaning these teachings where the friends were just they probably couldn't even think or speak. And Bruno was like, that's like kindergarten. Or maybe that's first grade. Oh, so I come up against this a lot. It's very easy for me to just say, Bruno said this, Bruno said that, Bruno said that. But as soon as I step beyond that, I try to remain cognizant of the fact that Bruno was a master. And again, in my view, he didn't read books. He just knew directly. Bruno said he never read an entire book all the way through in his entire life. I assume maybe he read a page here or there. So this gets even more interesting when we get to some of the more, you could say, advanced topics, such as enlightenment. I don't know. I can remember one time when Bruno said spiritual enlightenment, but for example, Bruno did say to enter fully into God, to let go of all attachments, to never let go of the divine heavenly peace, to free the soul from all evil, to not be attached to earthly things, to do God's will. So these are topics that I have not mastered, that I struggle with and grow with every day. Some days more success, some days less success. Whereas I consider Bruno to be someone who has mastered these things. And as a master, he can share his insights about what it's like to never lose the divine heavenly peace, what it's like to stay connected to God always. Bruno once said that when his body slept, that his spirit was off out and about helping people. His body didn't require much sleep as it was, but Bruno's spirit never slept. I hit the pillow. Once I fall asleep, it's like I'm gone. So, and such things, lately I've been talking about surrendering to God. And someone recently asked me, how do you protect a healing, or how do you not lose a healing? There's a question I've never thought about, and nothing I've ever read that Bruno spoke about. I mean, I'm sure he spoke about it somewhere, but I don't have access to everything that he's said. And so I just feel to share that I'm just sharing my insights as best I can and my best understanding. Because I'm not fully surrendered to God. I mean, if we just want to get really simple, I consider Bruno Groening someone who is fully surrendered to God. Now, I can say those words, fully surrendered to God, and I have this like vague idea of what it's like. But what's it actually like to be fully surrendered to God? I don't know. What is it like to never lose the divine heavenly peace, no matter what is going on, especially when very painful things are going on? I mean, I lost the divine heavenly peace. It was really funny. A great morning. I went to church this morning, just feeling so spiritual, so connected to God. I'm in the slow lane because like I don't want to go fast because I just, you know, feeling so connected to God. And I'm driving along and someone like pulls in front of me and then like pulls in front of me, puts on their right turn signals, really slows down to where I have to brake or I'm going to hit them. And I got mad at them. Not really mad, but I gave them not a hard honk, but like, hey, that didn't feel good. That wasn't kind of honk. And then they go off and did their thing and probably probably went and annoyed some other people. And that little resentment was with me for maybe a minute or so until I could let it go. Um, so so I lost the divine heavenly peace. I wasn't being arrogant thinking, oh, I'm so spiritual, but I was feeling the spirit and feeling God and feeling peaceful. And, a very minor thing, a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of annoyance, like maybe a 3.5 or a 4. Like, yeah, it was a little disrespectful and it was lightly dangerous. Like if I hadn't been really paying attention, could have been a lot worse. It's okay. Let's give it a 5. But Bruno faced a 10, I assume, almost every day. If not on a scale of 1 to 10, like a 20 every day. So, yeah. So all of that is a lot of words to say, please don't blindly believe anything I say. I can say I'm very devoted to Bruno. I'm very devoted to his teachings. I'm striving to understand them and live them more and more. I'm very passionate about an accurate representation of his teachings. And boy, am I not a master. And boy, do I fall short every single day. So please don't take anything I say too seriously. Please don't take anything that anyone says too seriously without checking in with yourself. Like if I say something and you check in and you're like, whoa, that's a gem, then okay, take it seriously, but not because I said it. Because as Bruno said, I have to almost exact paraphrase is listen deep within yourself, to your conscience, because that is where God lives within you. And I don't know the German. I'm going to have to look up the German because it's a very important teaching of his. So let's take a little time and and do that. Let's tune in to that, to our soul, which Bruno called the receiving station. We have an antenna, metaphorically, and maybe a little more literal than we know how to conceive of, to where we can receive the divine transmission. We can receive divine energy. We can also receive guidance and inspiration and comfort and peace. Let's tune into that for a little bit. Bruno Groening once said, "All I need is a loincloth and some sandals." He was so connected to God that the things we think of as necessities, like house and clothing and medicine and food, Bruno didn't need. And in terms of food and water, I'm quite convinced what he meant by that is he would be guided to where food and water were. So I'm not quite there yet, by a long stroke. I aspire. Don't know how many lifetimes it'll take. Very, very grateful for everyone who shows up to this channel. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't want to. Well, just thank you to everyone who practices Bruno's teachings. I believe these teachings are a way to heal ourselves and heal this planet in a different sense than what most people normally mean it to be. To release from ourselves everything not good. Because Bruno was adamant that we are divine creations, that the soul is and remains divine. He was very clear here. He said the soul is and remains divine, is never demonic, is never satanic. If I understand that correctly, what he meant is the soul cannot be tainted. me in my essence, you in your essence, all of us, the worst person on this planet living now or who has ever lived. If Bruno Groening's teaching is true, I believe it is, search your own conscience, then none of us, we can't be evil, but we can, that divine soul can be seized and covered over and clouded over. So the process is not to, in my understanding, to become like Bruno Groening. It's to remove the stuff that blocks us from being that. And that's a process. Bruno called it sanctification. And he said, Heilung est Heiligung. Healing is sanctification or hallowing. Hallow means to make holy. Thank you, beautiful souls. Wish everyone a glorious, God-filled, and God-guided day. Take care. Big love.